are the bad guys behind Eskom's collapse?
You've put your finger on exactly why I'm reluctant to engage in this line of questioning further.
Andre de Ruyter refuses to name names. Inconsolable after identifying her murdered son, used as Thabo Bester's body double.
I think Joe's too old and he's getting a little senile, and he should retire and find a younger person that's a little sharper.
We really need some help. So whoever's the next president, I hope they help us. But Joe Biden, you gotta tighten up. You gotta tighten up.
America's octogenarian president. Does age matter when you're running the most powerful country on the planet? Remember to subscribe to the channel to get all the latest as it happens. I'm Jane Dutton. This is Eyewitness News. Not divulging information the entire country wants to know. Who are the politicians involved in corruption at Eskom? Former Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter refused to name names when questioned by MPs of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. De Ruyter says he does not want to open himself up to legal action. An attempt by Scopa's chairperson also failed.
For the purposes of understanding, what is a senior ranking politician? If you could define it for us.
A senior politician is exactly what it means. Without wanting to cast any aspersions on yourself, you are probably a senior politician.
It doesn't help us, because then, as opposed to converging us to a point of specificity, that becomes a generalization which then anybody could have made.
Honourable Chair, I think you've put your finger on exactly why I'm reluctant to engage in this line of questioning further. Because if I say that it's a senior politician, let's say, for example, not in government, then you will say, well, is the party's colour blue or is it red?
Coming up, we'll tell you who de Ruyter says knows what he knows. Collapsed after seeing her son, inconsolable, utterly devastated. The reality of a horrific ending to a young life. How does a family come to terms with their son's body stolen from a mortuary and then used by a convicted murderer and rapist to gain his freedom? Katlego Mpolo's family had been praying for his safe return for about a year, only to be told his body was stolen from this mortuary and placed in Thabo Bester's cell at Mangaung Correctional Centre.
The family confirmed it is him, even though it was difficult for the family. Her mother cried as soon as she stepped into the place, saying, I was here looking for my son. You said he was not here. Today you're calling me at the very same place to say I must come identify. It was very sad.
Mixed messages from South Africa and an embarrassing U-turn on our international legal obligations.
Yes, the governing party, the African National Congress, has taken that decision that it is prudent that South Africa should pull out of the ICC, largely because of the manner in which the ICC has been seen to be dealing with these types of problems.
President Ramaphosa said that South Africa was pulling out from the International Criminal Court, only to retract the statement. So the country remains a signatory to the Rome Statute, and the presidency says it regrets the error. What impact will this have ahead of the BRICS summit here? Our government is facing a diplomatic nightmare regarding Russian President Vladimir Putin's expected visit to South Africa in August. The ICC has issued a warrant of arrest for him for alleged war crimes relating to the battle with Ukraine.
Western countries are looking very carefully at what South Africa is doing, and this particular issue is only going to add fuel to the fire that South Africa has lost its way.
7 months ago, the Jagersfontein dam wall collapsed. It led to a violent mudslide, killing 3 people. Promises by the president to restore lives of Jagersfontein residents. But residents say 7 months later, they're still victims of shoddy legislation and indecisive leadership. They were promised about 160 homes would be built by the end of December, but locals say only 3 have been built to date.
Dryf alles so bo op mekaar en mense sag toe sleep ek saam met water. Gaan ek saam met water. Was 12 kilometer gesleep vandaag. Saam met water en
There are also concerns about the long-term effect the sludge will have on those who were exposed. A South African police officer has received an award from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for her work in the aftermath of deadly earthquakes in that country. Brigadier Vimla Mudli from East London headed to the disaster-stricken region in February as the SAPS K9 unit's head of mission. That unit, along with the Gift of the Givers, was involved with the rescue of an 80-year-old woman who'd been stuck under rubble and found alive after more than a week. The humanitarian aid group says huge congratulations are in order for the officer who excelled under very difficult conditions.
There is no person more deserving. Her dedication, commitment, compassion, care and professionalism did the K9 team, SAPS, South Africa and the Gift of the Givers teams a huge credit in Turkey.
2 suspects have been arrested for the murder of 2 boys who were found mutilated in Soweto. The bodies of the children, aged 5 and 6, were found in White City in Rockville last week. They were reported missing the day before. Residents took to the streets over the gruesome murder, demanding better policing. The children were remembered at a memorial service today. A 50-year-old woman, along with her 39-year-old partner, were arrested in connection with the murders and are set to appear in court on Friday. America's oldest president is again running for the top job in the most powerful country on the planet. At 80 years old, does age matter?
I think Joe's too old, and he's getting a little senile, and he should retire and find a younger person that's a little sharper.
Really need some help. So whoever's the next president, I hope they help us. But Joe Biden, you got to tighten up. You got to tighten up.
Advice for Joe Biden after kicking off the 2024 presidential race. He has a year to convince Americans age is not an issue. Taking that number down is Kamala Harris, who will remain his vice president and running mate. Forget age. Does the country have the stomach for a Donald Trump, Joe Biden finale? And the big question we all want to know is, who are the politicians involved in Eskom's plunder? Former Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter says Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan and the Eskom board are privy to what he knows. See you next week. I'm Jane Dutton.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.